Gentlemen, a very warm good morning to all of you. Welcome to the second day of Cultural Wisdom for Climate Action, the Southeast Asian Contribution. We begin our program this morning with the fourth panel, Spiritual Connections to Nature and to Climate Change Action. This panel will be moderated by Dr. Ivan Anthony Henares and Mr. Alex Lu Wenji. Dr. Ivan is our SEACHA director from the Philippines. He is also a tourism educator, cultural policy researcher, and advocate for heritage conservation. Dr. Ivan was also recognized for his significant contributions to the field of heritage conservation with the Outstanding Young Men of the Philippines Award in 2012. Mr. Alex is a migrant rights activist from Singapore who takes pride in combating stereotypes on migrant workers in his home country. In addition to co-founding Migrant Library Singapore, a platform for interaction for over 17,000 migrant workers, he has also previously worked in several international organizations, such as the ASEAN Foundation and the Asia-European Foundation. I'd now like to invite the speakers for this panel to kindly make their way to the front of the auditorium at this time. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming them with a round of applause.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the fourth panel, Spiritual Connections to Nature and to Climate Change Action. So Southeast Asia has a very diverse spiritual heritage, and this panel will explore that spiritual heritage and look at how it can provide a basis for climate action. So the contributions of local spiritual practices, Buddhism, Catholicism, Hinduism, and Islam will each be presented in this panel. So how does each spiritual tradition stimulate humans and society as part of the greater natural world? Do these spiritual communities provide guidance on how to grapple with the climate crisis? So without further ado, we have 5 presenters this morning, and I would like to turn over to Alex to introduce our first speaker, SEACHA. So we can introduce our next speaker.
Yep, thank you, Dr. Ivan, and thank you, Dr. Huang, for that wonderful presentation. So next we'll move on to Venerable Anil Sakya, or forgive me, Pradama Sakya Vong Visudi. Graduated with an MPhil from Cambridge University and later with a PhD in social anthropology at Brunel University in the UK. Currently, he is residing at the Royal Monastery of Wat Bovoranives Vihara in Bangkok, Thailand, where he holds the position of an assistant abbot. Thanks.
First of all, I'm very honored to be invited in this distinguished gathering of scholars and one who are really interested in this very world where we are living in. Thank you for the organizers, the SEACHA, as well as the Siam Society, and equally for all the sponsors which make this event happen. Well, we have just gone through the spirit world. While I'm listening to Dr. Huang, I'm just looking around. Is there any spirit who is joining this conference as well? And then just listening to that, I'm pretty sure that there must be. Because as he said that there is a Chao Ti, which means that the owner of this land. I'm looking out there in all the trees, but I didn't see here. But if you see around in Bangkok, in many places, if there is a big trees in a certain kind of a different unusual sizes of those trees, you will see the yellow, red, all these different colors of clothes with hiding on that trees, which symbolizes that that trees must be something different, unusual. There's a spirit inside that tree. And that is a way people believe. And that is a way, not only believe in terms of animistic, in terms of religious belief, but it has a different outcome in the modern world as how do you save that very tree. This is what we have seen in the Southeast Asia. In Thailand, in Cambodia, in Laos. In these modern days where people are very desire, people are always craving, and people are in the name of development, they are destroying the forest. They are destroying our only home, this earth. But there is no way. We are talking about Anthropocene world, even. And when we talk about Anthropocene world, we are seeing very negatively that since we are introduced in this world, we destroy this earth. But take a pause on that very statement we are always using this modern world. If we are not here, if you didn't come here, what is the meaning of this earth after all? So we are not only destroying, we are making the meaningful of this very earth, with this very planet, with our existence, with our introduction to this world. So that's why I want to say these modern scholars, they always say that we are always trying to blame the human development. Yes, it is true. But at the same time, why don't you look at if there is no appearance of Anthropocene or no appearance of human in this very earth, what is the meaning of this earth? Whether this earth is relevant, whether this earth exists or not exists, does it any matter to us? Does it any matter to this whole cosmos? So, we are talking about the very, very sensitive issues, and we are trying to encourage people to get aware of how we live in this very world. But it's sometimes, when we are too emotional, I guess, we fall into this, our own trap we dig into. Well, that is what happened from the spirit world. So my part, I will bring back to the modern world as who we are. So I'll forget the past. And I won't go to the future. This is what Buddhism all about, here and now. So I will talk about the spiritual connections to natures and to climate change from a Buddhist perspective. If the time allowed, I will go unfortunately I don't have any PowerPoint, I don't have any hands-out, but I will try to explain what I got in my mind slowly in few things. First, I will take you to the different way of looking at what we call is nature, what we call is climate change from etymological point of view. And which means that the etymology, which is quite familiar in this Southeast Asia language, that is a Sanskrit and Pali. Then I will look at the Buddhist spirituality, that how Buddhist spirituality look at this nature and again the climate change or climate change actions. Then I will give you a small guidelines in a way that how you can or what you can do in order to save the world, which is a very famous phrase. But the save the world, it doesn't mean that only the nature, we have to save our humanity as well. We are the part of the world as well. Sometimes we go too extreme until we forget the real fact. Okay, let me start with the whole idea of nature. I guess in Thai, from Thailand, even Mr. Huang maybe have the same vocabulary. In Thailand, let's say called mountain, that is called Kiri or Pukao. That's a simple word, is Pukao. But the word we use is a Kiri, Giri. Yeah, so because in Thai they don't have a G, so that will become a K. So it is a Giri. So what is Giri means? in Sanskrit and Pali, etymological derivation of the word giri is very interesting here. The word giri, the word from, the root is from gr, and then that the real meaning is that the place which discharge water and medicine. Okay? So I can it support you for the Mr. Huang. It is not only spirit, so I'm bringing down to the modern world. So what do you mean by nature? What do you mean by even the word, the simple as a symbolized as a mountain? It is not a mountain as in English. From English word, I guess that the mountain is to land, disrupt, and then abrupt. Some kind of a higher that is become a mountain. But in Southeast Asia and Pali Sanskrit derivation, the word giri basically means that the place which discharge water and medicine. So it means that we, as a human being, and all sentient beings, all kind of creature, only survive with the source. We get it from the mountains, we get it from the nature, that is water, and when we get sick, we get the medicine from that. We don't see as a modern aesthetic meaning that these days, these mountains, the natures become self-expression of your art. You are so bringing those things to become, you're so selfish, and then use it as a part of your expressions. But in fact, from connections, spiritual connections, what Buddhism or most of the Southeast Asian context derive is that it is the source of our life. So if you want to survive more happily, more comfortably, more cozily, it means that you need to have those resources for what makes you who you are. The life, water, the earth, the fire, the wind, oxygens, where did it come from? That is what we call nature, and that is who we are. From Buddhist spiritual ideas, how we define I, how we define human, how we define any sentient beings. We are the part and parcel of this cosmos. That is why some Buddhist scholars call cosmodicy. As in theistic religion, you might call it the theodicy. But from Buddhist point of view, we call a human, any nature, any sentient being, a cosmodicy. Because we are part and parcel of this whole cosmos. Without tree, how can we get the oxygen? Once I was awarded a UNESCO kind of award called Guardian of the Planet. And the whole idea of that award, behind that award, is my presentations to the world about how do you save the world. And my simple presentation at the time was, I said that why we are talking about save the tree, save the world. The way we are thinking, it is very unreasonable, unrational, I say, irrational. Because these days you cut the tree and then you put the sign in the paper, don't stop cutting the tree. And where does this paper come from then? So this is what happened to our world. So that's why I'm saying that why you are looking tree as other? Why you are looking all this plant as the other self? Why don't we look as our own extension? Instead of seeing those trees as other planet, or other thing, other self, why don't you see that that is the source of our lung? Or in other words, that is our lung. Then you don't have to go to the rocket science to say that how to save the tree. It means that if you want to have a good life, if you want to have a good oxygen for your own breathing, own living, that is a source, you get it there. So this is a very simple connections we make. It is not only spiritual connection, it's not a religious connections, that is a connections we created. That is a word called pa. That is called giri. That is a word, whole idea in etymological. So I will go to another word called vana. Or what you call is pa also. In Thai language they call, there's a one, Chetawan. So there's always with the one, and vana in Pali and Sanskrit means forest. Again, forest is looked at from animistic point of view as a place where dwell all the spirits. Sometimes in Thai language, when you say the forest, that is a very scary place. It's a frightening place. You can't get into that. But again, from very etymological point of view, the word vana simply means that the place where people or any essential being, any creatures can enjoy their happiness and serenity. You see? The word one. So that's why it is not only that idea, the where people go and associate to be a one and other with the place, the jungle, the dwelling place. In a more kind of spiritual point of view, more kind of religious point of view, the place, the forest is the place where you can be enlightened. You can be yourself. You see? So, in order to understand who you are as a human, you need to have that very element that is a nature, that is a forest. Forest is not other. Forest is inside of you. Forest is something that very quintessential for your surviving. So this is a very etymological point of view, looking at those two simple words called giri and vana. And looking at the Buddhist point of view, from the Buddhist life of the Buddha himself, then you will see that all his life from his birth to his death, for 45 years, where he spent most of his time, not in this beautiful building like this. So that's why, I don't know, I am fortunate or unfortunate. If you think about this modern amenities, I think this is fortunate. But if we're looking back and then go to the connections with the nature, I think we are unfortunate to be, cramped in this small place like that. Why we don't go to outside? We'll have a more. And I see that there's a lot of, I guess we'll have a dinner or whatever there out there, which is a more close to the nature. So, in the name of development, we sometimes mislead our whole life. Because we forget that the root foundation of development is destruction. Without destruction, there is no development. But whether it is a constructive destructions or it is a destructive destructions, it is our way of thinking about it. So, therefore, the vana, the pa in Thai language, or forest in English, is somewhere you can get enlightenment, there's somewhere you go and associate, or even there's another derivation is the place where all beings, all animals, all creatures, speak loud, shout the place, which shows that it is really about what we call is independency. So that is only, I was warned that it's 5 minutes because I was asking before, it's got 30 minutes, so I was looking at it, it's not 30, but there is only 5 minutes, so I can't go to the something else yet. So I will go to what is the natural connections with the simple idea from Buddhist point of view, or Buddhist spirituality. Now, if we look at the Buddhist teachings, of course, all those Buddhist teaching is about the interrelatedness, it's about, making sense of yourself and surroundings. I am here as a speaker because there is a good, nice audience like you are here, sitting here, quietly, listening concentratedly. But if I am doing my job as a speaker, just only the chairs are here, and should I call myself a speaker? Well, you can call it, but I guess that after I speak, I have to go and then end my life in the mental institute, that I can talk with all these chairs. So even the word speaker, even the word I is only relevant when you have something else to define who you are. So that's why how Buddhism makes connections with the nature in that sense. So So in terms of looking at the creation of this world, as I said, there is 4 elements earlier. I didn't use the word, but there is a fire, which is the energy. There is a wind, which is taking our even oxygens. There is what we call is soil or solidity. And then there is what we call is, what left? Water, liquidity. So these are the part of nature, and these what define us. In our body, what makes us these 4 things, elements. Okay? So therefore, in order to understand the whole nature and this natural world, Buddhism talk about these 5 different laws. Okay? This world has to be followed, or this will be run through the 5 different laws that is called niyama. And these are the utu niyama, which means that the world is very relying on the what we call is biospheres, which I use the modern world. Of course, that is utu niyama is the word utu, is a weather. It is about the climate. So Buddha says about the Buddhism talk about this climate change even 2,500 years ago. We have another law which control this, which run this world, is a bija niyama, biodiversity. And then we have another world which is about intentional law. We become a human now. All biodiversity, all those biosphere is relevant because of our intentions, because of our existence is called chitta niyama. But our intention is only relevant when we do the action that is called kamma niyama. Then, of course, whatever you do, it will go according to the cause and effect that is called dhamma niyama. So these are the 5 different laws Buddhism talk about how you connect with the spirit, with the nature and climate change. Just to give you a simple example, I guess that I won't have much time, but just go to a briefing, just to kind of list you. So from Buddhist spiritual point of view, you look at the world, everything as you are an eco-being. Yourself, as a sense, and that is not you, because your existence in this world, in this hall, in this place, make you meaningful as you are, whatever you are doing. And then, as you are part of an eco-being, so you have to survive, you have to live by the principle of ego-dharma. That is, the dharma, or the word teaching a dhamma, or dharma in Sanskrit, basically means that upholding. Basically, means a balance. So you have to know how to balance your life with your surroundings. Okay? Ego-dharma. And why you are doing that ego-dharma? Because the ultimate spiritual connection you are making with this world is you have to transform yourself from the very selfish human being, very egocentric human being, to be the eco-sattva. That is an eco-being. So first, starting understanding yourself, you are the part and parcel of ecosystem. Then you have to survive in the principle of balance with the ecological balance. And of course, in order to be yourself an eco-being, that you are not destroying the nature, the place, the resource where you are getting your life force from. So these are the simple way of doing that. How you do that? So I will take a small, okay, time's up. I will just give you 1 minute. I will take 1 minute here. How you do that? I'm a Buddhist monk. And my life is a life of eco-being. Because when I decided that I become a monk, the first lesson I was taught from my preceptor is that now you have to live with the nature. Your view has to be changed totally. As a lay, as a householder, you are always kind of searching for your self-fulfillment. You are looking always, you have an eye, you are always try to see the nice thing through your eyes. You are always trying to hear the nice thing from your ears and so on. So, as a Buddhist monk, no, you should know the sufficiency. You should know the sufficiency. The first lesson as a Buddhist monk was taught that first, I should change my livelihood to be a sufficiency livelihood, a sufficient livelihood. The second is that I should live by the principle of recycling. So my robe is always recycled. I didn't put it this one. Not, this another robe I got is that from the recycled about 14 plastic bottles. I used to wear that today. That one is a little dirty, so I just picked a new one. So this is the way live in the recycles. The third principle is that always the nature out there is our dwelling. So we have to live with the nature, but appreciate and protect the nature is our crucial task of living here in this world. And the fourth is that you have to be self-sufficient. Whatever you got it from the nature, use it wisely and be sufficient, not to be greedy. As Mahatma Gandhi once says that there is an abundance of things in this world for our needs, but not for our wants. So how do you connect your spirituality? I guess this is how I have presented in this 15 or 20 minutes so on. Again, I think that's pretty much enough to see how Buddhists or the cultural background of Southeast Asia looking at the nature as well as climate change, because climate change is a part of nature itself. So I didn't have a depth and I didn't have time to go deeper into the area of the climate change, but I guess that this gives you pretty much pictures what I am standing for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Venerable Anil Sakya. We can really see how Buddhism is really showing us a basis for climate action, especially with the 5 laws that he shared earlier. So Alex, let's proceed to our next speaker, SEACHA. So may I request the Venerable Anil Sakya to please join us up here for the open forum. Thank you very much. So before we begin our open forum, I actually was very struck by one of the statements of the Venerable Anil Sakya about development, and he talks about the root of development as is destruction. And we also talk about how heritage is a driver for development. So what kind of development or sustainable development should we be moving towards, or should we be espousing, given that there is development becomes a very how to say it's something that affects our climate action. Can we have the microphone, please?
Yes, yeah, this one is okay. Thank you for the very interesting input. Well, I have a very different opinion about the sustainable development as a whole. I see the word, the terminology of sustainable development is oxymoron in itself. Because when you say development, it means that we are talking about a change. If there is no change, do we call it develop? So whole idea, whole spirit of development is you need to keep change all the time. So what do we mean by sustainable then? Sustain, as we understand in generally, normally, it is as a still. It never changes. It goes forever. So the truth, the nature of our world is always keep changing. As Buddhism say, everything is transient, everything is impermanence. So how can we make things permanent in this current of impermanence, which is a natural truth? So we have to understand the word sustainability from very different angle. And the way we look at the sustainability, to which go with the word development, I guess that we have to go to the root of what is sustainable after all. Sustainable, if you are linguistic, then you will know that it is derived from the word tenere, which is a Latin word, and there is a sus, which is a prefix. So the words sus, sometimes we call sub as well, we can changeable, and which means that it has a firm ground, okay? So tenere, T-E-N-E-R-E, tenere in Latin, which means that uphold. So therefore, the kind of sustainable development itself basically should mean that kind of changing which can uphold whatever situation it is. But at the moment when we talk about development, we are talking only in one angle. That is a material development. So that's why we need to have a big buildings. That's why we need to have a very fast car. That's why we need to have this, everything is aircon. And everything of what we are invented has a different consequences. And the consequences we are facing at the moment is our own human destruction in the name of development. So that's why United Nations talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, which is have a 17 and a whatever indicator, 200 something else. So, but it is just a goal, you have to understand that. But it has to really bring within our own culture and then have our own interpretation and understanding of those 17 goals. For example, on one of the sessions, when I was invited by the United Nations to talk about, as a think tank, to talk about the SDGs, there was a chairman of the SDG at the time was the Korean ambassador, and at the time was Ban Ki-moon. And I was briefed at the meeting that this is a big problem here in the United Nations because the president of this SDG is an atheist. He hates religions. And so they challenged me that my only task is that how to convert him, how to convince him. So we went, and it's a very small group of people from all over the world, actually, all the elite, I guess. I'm the only one there who doesn't have anything. Yeah. So I was there, and then everyone talked about it, so we are talking about what should we do with the SDG. So the president of SDG says that, okay, we come and talk about how we can reach our goal. For example, the first goal, elimination of poverty by all means. Big word. So everyone come, said, the policymakers said that this is about the tax. The financial says, the economist said, this is about the money. This is about the labor. This is about the, go on, all those things. So I was the only one who was kept silent at the time. And then I thought that, there's nothing I should contribute in this group. Then finally the president asked me that, I noticed that everyone has talked and you are the only one who is unique in the dress, who is unique in everything, but you haven't said anything. Then I said that, should I say anything? I said that I'm in a very wrong crowd. I shouldn't accept your invitation at the beginning at all. I feel so sorry that I accept your invitation. And I'm in the wrong crowd. Why? You want to eliminate poverty. Is that the goal? So what do you mean by poverty? Can you eliminate that? So if you are defining poverty based on the labor, based on the money, based on the everything, sorry, I will congratulate you if you can achieve that. But the only small problem is there that will be can achieve only after I die. So you have to go through my corpse. Only then you will succeed it. Because I take vow of poverty, sorry. Same as all my Christian fathers, they take vow of poverty, sorry. So what do you mean by eliminating by all poverty? So are you saying that I have to go and go to the market job and find a job? So what do you mean by that? So I was just for one night actually, I have just this like this bag. So I just played a drama. I just make a drama. I just pour all my bag out there in front of everyone. I said that, look at me. The ticket you send me. From the airport, you send me a limousine. At the hotel, you put me in a good hotel. And this morning, I was offered a breakfast. I don't know what is going to have for lunch yet. I guess that somebody will offer. But look at me. I don't have a credit card. I don't have a single penny. I am poorest of the poor. But look at my face. Am I creating any trouble? Look like all you are, all I guess that you have. somebody. You are somebody. You have a lot of credit card. You have, because I was briefed that there is one very rich guy from the Switzerland as well. And everyone is there with all this. But compared to you, how are you going to define me? I don't have anything. I don't have a house. I don't have anything. I am the homeless of the homeless. But am I a problem here or not? So what do you mean by poverty? So finally, all the about whole morning session was just stopped there, because the president said that, wow, we never thought about that, so we should go and still come back to me with what definition of poverty. If I say that if you are defining poverty based on money, sorry, you have to kill me first. So this is a sustainable development. So the whole idea of the sustainable development we have to rethink. That is a good exercise. But when we bring to our culture, our spiritual group, our spiritual way of thinking, I guess that we have to go through every one in detail and then adjust it according to our belief and adherence and, of course, our surroundings. And only then you can have the development which is always having that balance. And that is an exact word in Buddhism called Dhamma Chakra. Chakra means that development, moving forward, and Dharma means that upholding. And that is actually the same word from the Buddhist spirituality.
Thank you very much, Venerable Anil. Go ahead.
Just a small comment here, I think, which is coming up. I think it will be being a SEACHA, I would suggest that, how do you define, what is a local terminology for sustainable development, let's say, in Thailand, which doesn't work. การพัฒนาที่ยั่งยืน again is a very oxymoron การพัฒนา means that changing ยั่งยืน means that never change. So I don't know what does it mean, what it really want to say. So again in Cambodia also พัฒนาโดยจิรภาพ again that's the same word as a changing with kind of a sustainable. We have that. I don't know what is Indonesia. You have this Malaysia, Bahasa Indonesia, what you call it, or in Filipino, what you call it. But to give a different way of saying that, if you go to India use the word dharaniya samvardhana, which means that a kind of development with a dharana, with a dharma. In Sri Lanka, originally they said that abhivardhana, thira, bhava, or something like that, which is again sustainable development. But now I have heard that the Sri Lankan government has changed the word as dharaniya avivardhana. Again, coming back to the whole idea of sustainable in terms of etymology, that is a dharma. And in Thailand, dharma, which means that a balance. So if you put it that development by balance. So for example, the land is called dharana or dharani. Dharani means a land which are sustainable because it's able to hold all this, whatever tree, whatever big building, because it's able to balance, you see. The word dhara, this is the original, the etymological sense of the word sustainable. So it will be very interesting to see how our Southeast Asian country look at this the term. As in Chinese, I look at the Chinese again. Again, the Chinese word for sustainable development is a sustainable in balance. I look at the Japanese word for the sustainable development. Again, it has a meaning of sustainable, it's a development in balance. But I don't know why in Southeast Asia or in some of the countries, they look at the development, which is a very, very paradoxical meaning of saying it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we open the floor for questions, Alex, do you have any questions for our panel?
Hi, I acknowledge the very insightful sharing by all these wonderful speakers. But as a young person and also to do my job as the moderator, I have to ask this question, which is about, which address the elephant in the room. In all these spiritual traditions, it's very easy to encapsulate trees, plants, and even animals. But what about fossil fuels? Does any of your tradition have comments about fossil fuel and its relations? It is open to any of the speakers.
Well, I think I have already said, gave them in my presentation, the original word for nature in Thai or in the most of Southeast Asian is a giri, that is a mountain, and mountain itself, from our etymological linguistic point of view, it is that very discharge, water and medicine. which also means that the fuel, also means the energy. So whatever you wanted, it is from the land, it is from the nature. Again, if you go to another word called nature in Thai language, because we are talking about here Southeast Asia, SEACHA, so I won't go to further countries. In Thailand, Thai word for nature is Thammachat. Is that right? And what does it mean, Thammachat? Thammachat means that chata or jati means that existing, dharma means that balance. So it is a balance in existing. That is the word for nature. So whether it's a fossil fuel, whether it is even in the sun, solar cell, or whatever it is, even the solar cell, one day we say that is creating a problem now. One day. So that's why whatever form of development is that, you should know that it is a balancing and it is in a way that's sustainable, which means that it takes certain longer period, but at the same time it doesn't give us side destructions or the side effect for the human, for the nature, for the all creatures. That is the overall idea of, even the fossil fuel, even the whatever, because fossil fuel after all, it is from the nature, isn't it? Or you deny that it is something out of nature?
กลับสักการค่ะ May I have a translator ขออนุญาตถามท่านเกี่ยวกับการเปลี่ยนแปลงค่ะรู้สึกประทับใจที่ท่านพูดการเปลี่ยนแปลงและการพัฒนาอยากถามความเห็นของท่านว่าในนามที่เราเป็นวัยรุ่นยุคใหม่เป็นผู้ที่มีบทบาทในด้านการผู้นำเปลี่ยนแปลงท่านมีคำแนะนำอย่างไรเพื่อให้การเปลี่ยนแปลงนี้พอเพียงและสมดุลค่ะขอบพระคุณค่ะ
Translation. As a leader of the youth, the question is to Venerable Anil. If you have a recommendation for perhaps a direction that could direct this progress into a sustainable and sustainable and sufficient, yes, direction. Thank you.
Should I speak in Thai or in English then? So do I have to translate that back in Thai then? Well, thank you for the very interesting questions. I guess that it is quite rude to say that you are the only one who is young here. We are here. I am on the stage here, but my mind is still young. My age may be, not so that young, but in terms of thinking, in terms of innovation, in terms of creativity, I think I'm young enough to beat you. Not by the age. Well, the nature of this world is always changing. You see, without changing, it means that it is dying. Even the death itself is a process of change. So we can't deny the change. There is one Buddha's word, very interestingly, very beautiful, says that everything in this world is impermanence. The only permanent thing which exists in this world is death. So you want to live in the dead world or you want to live in the life world, which means changing. So in terms of changing, you can't really decide what you want to be. Because at the moment, you might thinking one thing. In few minutes later, there's a new factors, there's a new things coming up, and whatever you think that I love this so much, next day, you might hate it to guts. So the things are changing. What we need is that the word sufficiency, as you mentioned it, is very key, key to this element of living. We are not against the development. Development is a part of our nature, okay? So, for example, even in order to control the climate change actions, you can't do it just simply by the policy and for science, rocket science. But what you need is that a commitment where you respect human life as well as all kinds of life of this planet, including the environment. Not policy and science doesn't work. Similarly, in order for you to live in this modern world of changing, whole key is that how you are going to live in this current of changing all the time, but you are still able to handle yourself. Just like if you are, in the sea, there's a lot of big waves, small waves all coming, but you are a very good skateboard. You are able to always balance yourself amidst all the changes which is going on. So it depends on your life, depends on your career, depends on where you are. Most important thing is that whatever creation, whatever innovation you are thinking, does it beneficial for your surviving, for others surviving, for social surviving, for environmental surviving? If you can tick to yes to all those points, I guess that is the way you should live. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have time for one or two more questions on the condition that everyone has to be in the hall by 12:45 p.m. Okay, thank you very much, and that ends our fourth panel for today. We would like to thank Dr. Hoang, Venerable Anil Sakya, Dr. Katrini, Dr. Fajrudin, and Father Ted for your wonderful presentations this morning. We are now proceeding to lunch. I think we have instructions.
Yes. Thank you very much once again to our speakers, moderators, and the audience for a fruitful session this morning. It is now time for lunch. We kindly ask you to be back, as Dr. Ivan mentioned, by 12:45 p.m. or at least 5 to 10 minutes before will be much appreciated. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, so let me see what I got it here or not.